Yesterday, I was not expecting to go on a walk with my daughter. I normally walk by myself. My daughter wasn't feeling well yesterday. And so she asked me to go in the park and watch her play. And she tried to go play a little bit, but went over and sat on the bench. And I went over there and sat with her. My son was already sitting on the bench. And then, next to I told my daughter about my story that I'm about to tell you. When I was a little girl, I saw someone experience something, a certain aspect of their health, and I saw they were in pain. This person was in pain. And I know I probably thought to myself, man, I don't want to go through that, because she also said, this person said, you don't want to experience this. And so, seeing her in pain, somehow that thought gravitated to me. I was open enough, my soil was fertile enough to allow that seed of struggling with a certain aspect of my health. And so for years, I struggled with it. I was, I didn't even like it when it came and visit me. Um, it was just, for years, I felt a horrible experience until one day my brother told me, he said, Tamika, this other person doesn't struggle like you. And with that thought, as well as my mother I already took her seed of thought that just because someone experienced something doesn't mean you have to, but I still kept it there. I still, somehow I felt like I still had to experience that pain, that discomfort. But when he said that, it was like a light bulb went on. And what ended up happening was I changed the medicine that I was taking, and it was almost like a miracle that all of a sudden that experience wasn't as bad as it used to be. And even when I actually had my babies, that the experience wasn't even close to what it used to be. Like, I don't even take pain medicine. And I know you probably can get an idea of what I'm talking about. But I wanted to share my story because I believe there are a lot of people that are walking around here carrying their some myths, carrying their pain with them. And they're carrying these thoughts that they have to struggle with their health. And so what ends up happening is that it ends up infecting every aspect of their life, their relationships, financial, because if you believe that you should be sick, you call off from work, you're missing out on money, or you don't go into work, you may not go to have social gatherings because of that, whatever it is that you may be dealing with. And often, you guys, we look, when that pain is not there, we look for it. And over the years, I would even mess with it, because I remember reading something about the psychological aspect of health, how we can literally make ourselves sick, how we can bring about discomfort, how we can bring about pain. And I remember, when I would take my mind off of it, the pain wasn't there. But then when I would put my mind on it, it was there. And I'm seeing the same thing with my daughter. And she told me yesterday, later in the day, and it was like matter of fact. And that's how you know the message is from divine. It was like, no, 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 no big deal. And just saying this, she said, Mom, what helped me was not the Tylenol, yes, the ibuprofen yesterday, nor the food that I gave her. But what really helped me was telling her that you don't have to struggle with your health. That, and I hope that she receives that wake up call, and the process of continually fertilizing that seed with love. That's one of the things that I write about in one of the manuscripts I'm working on, Cultivate Your Inner Garden, and that I am sowing seeds as a parent. We are sowing seeds as a parent. And that's where the seeds we plant, because these seeds eventually sprout, eventually grow, and we have a harvest. And we can either have a harvest that is healthy, or we can have an unhealthy harvest, one that is rotten, one the leaves are brittle, it doesn't shine and glow, it's not nutritious to our body. If anything, it can make us sick. And so it is so important to ask ourselves, are we sowing seeds of health, or are we sowing seeds of sickness, illness, disease? That I believe, just like many of the great leaders, before, many of the great leaders, we talk about Louise Hay, we talk about Florence Scovel Shinn, and many of them, when we talk about mind, and there's a book out, I believe it says Mind Over Body, that I've read a few years ago, and how our mental state impacts our physical state. And to go even deeper than that much of our physical manifestations are from our emotional turmoil, mental, emotional, and mental turmoil. That inner, what do we believe about health? Do we believe we should struggle like our grandmother struggled? And then we wonder why we have the same disease, or illness. you know, when we think about breast cancer, and we think about a family history of breast cancer, I would tell my students, I would tell I've told my children, I've shared this message before, that just because you have a risk factor doesn't mean you're going to get the disease. Risk factors just means that you're at a greater risk because it runs in, they're in the genetic blueprint. But there are things that you can do to prevent you from getting a condition or illness or disease. And I believe that one of them is believing what my mother would tell me, is that just because someone else experienced it doesn't mean you have to. So that was one of the seeds, as a child, that kind of, it I had not harvested those seeds that I took on, but it was something that was sown and I took in, that I had to struggle with health. And it was just that mindset, someone who came and shed light on me, that like the light bulb just went on and said, oh, I don't have to struggle with this. And then what happened was, as you may, guess, is that my mindset changed. Therefore, possibilities flooded in. What if you do this? Will you have better results? Just like if we're in a negative mindset, we start thinking negative and hurtful and mean and resentful, the same way that thinking healthy thoughts and opening the pathway for those other healthier thoughts, things that will bring about the result that we need to have, that will give us more clarity, help us to shine our light even brighter. So as we are modeling health to our children, and I thought about that because a few years ago, I really had some health conditions going on. And I know that was part of anxiety. It was part of being caught up in this storm and really feeling like a victim, and that was one of, I've literally seen the opposite side of it, because majority of my years, for over, 20 some years, and even gone through some experiences with pain, I didn't see myself as a victim. I resisted seeing that. And then as I got older, and I started experiencing that victimship and that mindset that comes with it, thinking that people are against you, thinking other negative thoughts that can happen, thinking about your health and scaring yourself literally with these thoughts, and realizing, as I look back on that, and what got me through that was reseeding a lot of my mother's principles, a lot of my life lessons that I've learned for myself and from others, and how that thought process, not medications, not melatonin that was encouraged to help me sleep, because I said, no, 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 my body have these natural chemicals in here, melatonin. My body has GABA, that helps us to relax, these neurotransmitters. So I'm going to rely more on my body, because as you read the side effects, you have all these hosts of side effects that can happen. And I believe that when we start putting other things in our bodies that are foreign to them, we increase our chances of having many more health conditions and diseases. As a trained, I went to school for nursing, BSN, MSN, and I taught nursing, including pharmacology, and understanding these medications and understanding our body and withdrawal, and how that can affect our body. So I have a little bit more knowledge and insight in that, because I want to understand the body. I think we have an amazing body. I believe we do, and that I believe that we have the ability to heal ourselves. And I've experienced that, and the ability to, if you will, ward off illness. Literally could feel a cloud coming to me and feeling, some sick symptoms, and said, no, I can't afford that. And literally feeling like the cloud just kind of left me, So I believe that we have the ability to make ourselves feel better, to make ourselves well, to talk to our bodies in such a way, that we can promote healing, to give ourselves the necessary food and rest and environment to increase our chances of healing. And so it's daily for me, just kind of thinking about that I don't have to struggle with my health, and that's what made me make changes with my cholesterol and my blood pressure, is that I don't have to have hypertension. I don't have to have cardiac disease. I don't have to have issues going through the latter stages of womanhood. I don't have to have that, because our creator knows that we were going to go through that. And I want to believe with all my heart, and I believe that our creator prepared us for these changes that we're going through, that we will be going through. So it doesn't have to be a crisis in my life, these biological changes. And I will continue to feel that way out, but I can honestly tell you that I'm back resting like I should. I have more positive thoughts like I should. It's almost like uh, um, becoming more of myself. And if you can relate to that, if you can relate to, ask yourself, what in the situation that you are in now, in the health state that you are in now, what thoughts, what did someone say? Someone did. What did you see that led you to where you are right now? Did you see someone who suffered with amputations and diabetes? Did you see someone who suffered with a stroke? Did you see someone who suffered with cancer and you loved them dearly? That I believe that energy can transfer from one body to the next. What thoughts right now can you examine and say, wait a minute, there was a time and a place where I didn't feel this way. And until this happened is when I started seeing a difference in my health. And it could be positive, because if it is positive, you're in a positive, health state, no diseases, then I encourage you to keep that, to still bring those thoughts to the surface and replant those seeds of healthy behaviors. And if your health is not where it should be, or where you would like it to be, or one that really helps you to enjoy your quality of life, then yes, examine those thoughts and say, okay, what am I holding on to? Because when you shine the light, when either someone does it for you, or you see it you hear about it in a conversation, you see it on television, you hear it in a song, you hear it in a recording like this, how can you use your thoughts to improve your health, and also to set the foundation for those you love to live a high quality health life, to achieve and sustain optimal health? Because it's serious. And why is this part of the cycle of pain? Because again, I believe there are people that are walking around with these preconceived notions about how they should be and feel and do at a certain age or time in their lives. And it's when we break or dismantle these myths, break these chains, that we began to think in a different way. Begin to experience life in a different way. And we often know what we're holding on to because anything that does not belong to you will continue to rise to the top. So when you're sitting around, maybe cleaning or doing something that doesn't require a lot of thought in it, something will rise and say, hey, you need to deal with this. That's what it's saying. It's like soda fish. You need to deal with this. Let's deal with this before it topples over into other aspects of your life. And then it becomes even a bigger problem or a bigger issue. I don't like the word problem. I believe there are issues. A bigger issue of dismantling and clearing the way so that you can think clearly, so that you can do the work that you're here to do, to display the truth through your gifts, your uniqueness, your talents, your gifts, your abilities, through the different roles that you play here on earth, that we can clear our minds to think clearer and not have this fogginess that often lead us down detours and lead us going in circles around and around and around, but that we can finally keep walking on that path with a clearer mindset and really have our eyes set on the goals of having this wonderful abundant life. And I'm not just talking about riches, but I'm talking about where you really feel like you are clear about the reason that you're here. You have a clarity on your life's meaning and purpose. You have clarity on what you are here to share with the world. This is Tamika Chambers with Create a Generational Love Cycle. We break the cycle of pain by dismantling the thoughts that created it in the first place. And it's not just physical pain. It is the emotional, mental, the spiritual dis-ease that we have that's often manifesting physically. And so, as parents, as myself, a parents, and as caregivers, we can help break the cycle of pain by getting to the root and not covering up, but getting to the root of those thoughts, again, that created it. I have started my newsletter, Notes on Life, empowering you to be you, and I will definitely have the link here in the information for this podcast. And I hope and pray that you will take it under consideration, not just the seeds that we plant today, the episode that I have today, but also to look at the other seeds and really think about those thoughts that we're planting. Throughout my professional and personal life, I've seen, I've witnessed, I've cared for people that have these thoughts that keep them imprisoned in their unhealthy behaviors. They keep them imprisoned in their unhealthy states. And there is power in knowing that we can do something about it. That our struggle is not so much in our health, but in aligning, in really just aligning with the truth that is in us, and becoming one with the spirit, divine spirit that is in us. That's where it is. And it's not so much the spirit that is struggling to be with us. It's us struggling to really feel that we are worthy of a great, abundant life, that we are worthy of being free, totally free from a lot of these emotions and feelings and myths that we carry on in our lives. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care of yourself. As always, make this lifetime great. And it's because you still can. No matter what happened to you, you still can.